Sony heard all the backlash that Nintendo was getting for raising the prices of their older Switch models and decided that they too were going to raise their prices. According to a new report, Sony is raising the price on older PlayStation 5 models. That's right, hardware that is half a decade old is now getting more expensive in 2025. And you know what the worst part is? The lineup of games coming to the PlayStation 5 for the rest of 2025 is looking really light, which means Nintendo and the Switch 2 users have more things to look forward to throughout the rest of this year than those of us in the PlayStation camp. Man, losing to Nintendo in 2025, the year where everybody is giving Nintendo a hard time and all this backlash, is pretty embarrassing. So today we're going to dive right in and figure out what exactly is going on with the price of the PlayStation 5 years after it came out. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. So this was posted over on PlayStation's official website, blog.playstation.com. It says PlayStation 5 price changes in the United States posted today. New prices effective tomorrow. They're like, hey, just so you know, tomorrow gonna be more expensive. You have no heads up. You will not be able to buy one in advance unless you do so literally right now. Okay, similar to many global businesses, we continue to navigate a challenging economic environment. As a result, we've made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price for PlayStation 5 consoles in the US starting on August 21st. The updated recommended retail price for PlayStation 5 consoles in the US are as follows. PlayStation 5 is now $549, PlayStation 5 digital edition is $499, and the PlayStation 5 Pro is a whopping $750, brother. The recommended retail price for PlayStation 5 accessories remain unchanged, and we have no other price changes to announce for additional markets. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so the prices of all of these consoles have gone up by $50. Now, I hate to be the guy to say I told you so, but the people that are surprised by this announcement have either been not paying attention or they've just been intellectually dishonest and they've been telling themselves that only Nintendo does bad things, only Microsoft does bad things. As it turns out, economic forces are not exclusive to the company that you don't like, and no matter what you want to call it, economic forces, market conditions, tariff policy, no matter what you want to call it, all companies are facing the same challenges. So the question was never, are they going to do this? It was more so, when are they going to do this, and are they going to do it just to their next console release, or if they're going to do it to their current console release? Now, IGN reports the price rise comes amid a turbulent time for global markets due to US tariffs and similar increases from other video game companies such as Nintendo, which recently increased the price of the original Nintendo Switch. Sony previously raised the PS5's price in the UK and mainland Europe, Australia, and New Zealand earlier this year after already increasing the console's cost once before back in 2022. Earlier today, Microsoft raised eyebrows by declining to announce a price point for the ROG Xbox Ally X alongside its release date. Speaking to IGN, the device's manufacturer Asus said it needed more time to navigate the current macroeconomic factors involved in deciding the gaming handheld's price. You want to know why? It's because it's going to be more expensive than the Steam Deck, and it's going to be more expensive than the Switch 2, and no one's going to talk about that, right? Everyone's going to complain about the Switch 2 being so expensive, and no one's going to talk about how the ROG Xbox Ally is going to be even more expensive than that, and it won't have the first party lineup that Nintendo has, right? Like, let's just be real. Let's be real. Okay, Microsoft, Xbox, your exclusives don't exist anymore. Okay, hate Nintendo if you want, but Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Metroid, they still move units. Donkey Kong, right? Whether you like them or not is irrelevant. Nintendo's got the lineup. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. GameSpot reports PS5 price hikes announced for the US as Trump's tariffs continue to take their toll, and they're just saying the quiet part out loud. I mean, look, I hate that this has become a political discussion, right? Tariffs inherently are not they're not exclusively Republican, they're not exclusively Democrat. I don't care who you voted for, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or you did a write-in ballot for Homer Simpson. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, that is not the point of this video. The point is that the most common outcome of tariffs by far is that the increased cost for the importer gets passed on to the consumer. Every economist has been saying this for the last let's see, 12 months, maybe 10 months at this point. This is well documented. This is not a new thing. This is not a partisan thing. This is what happens when tariffs are involved. No matter who does it, it doesn't matter how you feel about it, right? And one of the things that I see a lot of, a lot of your favorite YouTubers are gonna coddle you, right? They're gonna cuddle you. They're gonna say, oh no, it's okay. Oh, it's the big corporations. Oh, they're just so greedy. Oh, can you believe it? They're just so greedy. Oh my goodness. And to an extent that is true, obviously, right? Is the sky blue? Is water wet? Corporations are greedy, obviously. When a tariff is imposed, a corporation has a fork in the road. They either eat their increased cost or they pass it on to the consumer. And if you just research it for, I promise you it'll take like 5 minutes, you will find out that a vast majority of the time, at least some of the cost is passed on to the consumer almost every single time. It is what it is. So when you sit there and say like, okay, well, these corporations are so greedy, they should just eat this cost. It's just an increased cost of doing business, right? Well, no, they're not gonna do it. And so you could say that it's greedy, but like they're obviously increasing the price. I mean, it's a 5-year-old console. What are we talking about, right? November 2020, it's a 5-year-old console. Why would they raise the price on half a decade old hardware if they didn't have a direct reason to do it, right? So you could say that they should eat the cost, but it's obvious that they are increasing the price because of tariffs, right? Like it is quite literally cause and effect. It is like because of A, then B. That there's no confusion here, right? The only people that are confused by this are the ones that just don't want to think about it. They're like, oh no, this can't be, I won't have it. And I think the number one thing that confuses people, right? And I see this in the comments, and you probably already wrote the comment if this is hurting your feelings, okay? If this is because of tariffs, why did other markets increase the price of their PS5? Whoa, checkmate. Am I right, boys? Wow, man, now that I've learned that piece of information, I can turn my brain off, and now we don't have to think about this anymore. It's just because corporations are greedy, and now I can sleep well at night. Let's jump right into this, folks. Back in April, Sony increased the prices of their PS5 units in select markets in Europe, Middle East, Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Wow, none of those are the United States, so it must be because of greed. Surely there could be no other explanation for that. The real answer is also very simple, okay? The modern global economy relies on interconnected supply chains throughout multiple countries for even a single product. Beyond that, the United States dollar has been the principal reserve currency for the entire world ever since World War II. So as the price of things changes and fluctuates as a result of tariffs, which by the way are effectively a tax on imported goods entering into the United States, this will inevitably affect exchange rates. And even farther than that, if it costs companies like Sony or Nintendo more money to do trade or do business with the United States market, which by the way, we have an absolutely massive consumer market, okay? We spend a lot of money on a lot of garbage, all right? I'm no saint. I do the same thing, all right? I got a bunch of BS over here that I've spent money on, okay? But the point is, if it costs companies more money to do business with the US market, then they're going to try to make up that difference somewhere else, right? So okay, you can either raise the price in the US by $100, or you could raise the price by $50 in the US and $50 in Europe. Does that make sense? We operate in a free market, so these companies don't have to do anything, or they could choose to do something that is confusing but makes a lot of sense for their bottom line. It doesn't have to make sense to you why they're raising the price in Africa after the increase in the US tariffs. Does that make sense? And just to be clear here, okay, I'm not playing defense for Sony. I'm not playing defense for Nintendo. These big corporations can get fucked. I don't care about that, okay? What blows my mind is just, look, I majored in economics for a little bit. I switched my major to business, okay? But it's just so frustrating that people have taken something so well studied like tariffs, and they have just hijacked it to make it a political thing that just completely goes against all logic. And then they point their finger at greedy corporations, and people agree with it because that's the emotional response, like, oh, big corporations are greedy. And like, there's truth to that, right? There's truth to that. But to sit there and say that this price increase has nothing to do with tariffs is just wrong. It's simply wrong. I don't know what to tell you. This is simply what happens almost every single time tariffs are involved, okay? Now let's get to the good part. What can you do about this if you don't like that Nintendo or Sony have raised their prices? The answer is don't buy their products. Okay, at the end of the day, the power is in the hands of the consumer. So while Sony has the right to raise their price to whatever they want, you as the consumer have the right to not spend your money on their products. And that is the only way, that is the only message that Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft are going to hear from you. They don't care what you just put in my comment section. They're not going to read it. They don't care if this is trending on Twitter. None of that matters. You might feel like it matters. It might look like it matters on the outside because you got 20,000 likes on the internet. Okay, but the truth is that if people buy it, they will not change. Okay, that is literally period. That is the end of the discussion. So if you are mad about this and you want Sony to eat the cost of the tariffs and you want Nintendo to eat the cost of the tariffs, then the demand for their products has to go really, really low starting now, immediately. That is the only message these companies are going to hear, because if they're not selling any units, well, then they're going to be forced to, guess what, eat the tariffs. They're going to be forced to lower their prices and have thinner margins just to get customers to come back and buy their products. And I already know there's going to be an 82 IQ motherfucker that goes down in the comments and says, oh, didn't you just contradict yourself because you said that they can eat the tariffs? Listen to me, okay? Companies have the choice to eat the tariffs, and they never choose to do that willingly. Welcome to the real world. That's how this works. But they will be forced to if their income gets cut in half. Okay, that is the only way that the consumers have power in this market. Otherwise, tariffs equal higher prices for the consumer. That is almost always the case. Now let me wrap this up with my opinion, because despite what you may think, everything that we just talked about in this video has nothing to do with me. I just told you what's happening. You can believe me or not. It literally doesn't matter. I genuinely don't care if you agree with what I just said, because I did not tell you an opinion. I told you what's actually happening. If you don't want to believe it, okay, but now I'm going to tell you my opinion. I think Nintendo and Sony should eat the cost of these tariffs. Why? These consoles are old. Nobody's buying them anyway, or at the very least, very few people are buying them. And we have the PlayStation 6 is probably going to come out in what, 2027, maybe early 2028. That is your opportunity to raise the price of your console. And by the way, the PlayStation 6 is going to be closer to $1,000 than it is to 500. In case you guys were wondering, we already see the PS5 Pro. Bro, it's 750 still. That's crazy. Okay, you can just get a gaming computer for that, and you're going to be better off. It makes no sense. At least, like I said, with Nintendo, at least there's exclusives there that you can only play unless you're, you know, sailing the high seas. But anyway, the point is, I think that these price hikes are a little bit ridiculous, right? I think they are ridiculous because, again, consumers are extremely price sensitive right now, and this is old hardware. Okay, and again, the PlayStation 5's game lineup for 2025 is not looking so hot. I think they're making a mistake by doing this. Nintendo raising the price of their old Switch, I don't really care about that, because that console is even older and everyone already has one, right? So like, that is whatever. And it didn't go up by 50 bucks. It went up by like what, 30 or something like that. I don't know. My point is, either way, no matter who you're looking at right now, they probably shouldn't be raising these prices, even though it means they're going to have thinner margins. I just don't think that it's going to go well for them in the long run. So again, I'm on your side, right? I agree with you. I'm a consumer. I'm a gamer. I spend money on this stuff. I don't want the price to go up, right? I disagree with this business practice. You understand? But we still live in reality, right? We still have to acknowledge what's actually happening out in the world. And like, you know, I could sit here and make a video and say, oh, Sony is so greedy, and I'll get, you know, 10,000 views, and everyone in the comments is going to be like, true, brother, true, big corporations, right? But I just can't do that. Okay, I have to tell you guys the truth, which sucks because it would be way easier for me to be like, these companies are lying, there's no such thing as market conditions, every company just bases their decisions on greed and vibes, and that's it, right? But like, I've paid attention to this for too long, and like, we have to be honest with ourselves at a certain point. Okay, and the political climate in the world right now is just so frustrating. I hate it. Okay, and that's not a dig at whoever you think it's a dig at. It's just in general, I hate how political everything. Why is everything political, right? Oh, he's got blue bed sheets, he must be a Democrat. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm so tired of hearing about politics. I thought after the last election we would just stop. Like, can we just chill out on politics? Like, it's people's entire identity. They don't even know who they are if they're not a registered whatever. I think we all need to touch some grass. Okay, myself included, all of us, we got to touch grass. Let's just go. Let's all together, come on, let's go out, let's go touch some grass. We need to do it, or it's overdue. Come on, let's do it.